Now you see, I love Fallout, right? It's one of my favorite game franchises of all time. So when Fallout 76 got announced, I was pretty hyped, to say the least. And then they said this was an online game, and you know what? I thought that was pretty cool, honestly. I've always wanted to play Fallout with my friends, even though the core of Fallout, for me personally, like the way I play this game, or these games I should say, is to completely just immerse myself. That feeling of loneliness, the feeling of dread. I pretty much play this game like a hardcore survival game, right? And that's just kind of the way I want to go on these adventures. So, when they said that they're going to be bringing in survival elements, hunger, thirst, disease, oh, I was so excited. I thought, this is going to be the game for me. Oh, I just can't wait for it. And then the beta came out. And when I say beta, now hold on. Before we get into it, this is going to be kind of like a rant. It's going to make sense, I promise. But, okay, the beta came out. But let's be honest, it's not a beta. The game ships in 2 weeks' time. This is a fucking glorified demo, okay? This is not a beta. So all of the technical stuff that I'm gonna go over, it's not gonna get fixed in time for launch. It's just not gonna happen. So we got into the game and everything feels normal. It feels like I'm playing Fallout 4. The game looks... there. Honestly, the engine is so old right now, the game looks dated. It honestly just looks dated. And that ties into the performance. The game doesn't look very nice, and the only time it does look nice is when you are being fucking blinded by the god rays. Other than that, it looks pretty mediocre. It looks dated, let's be honest. But it's an old engine, and they're just using the same Fallout 4 assets, so... I mean, yeah. But with that ties into the performance, and oh, let me tell you something. This game runs like shite. For me, I have a GTX 1080 Ti, an i7-8700K CPU. I have a pretty good PC. So when this game, which has an old ass engine, it doesn't look very good, and it runs like shit, I was pretty disappointed. Because I think I'm used to Fallout and modding it and installing the performance patches, the unofficial fixes for the game. I'm used to doing that in a Fallout game, and you can always tell when you go a little bit over the top with mods when you're modding Elder Scrolls or Fallout. Your game will start to tank and run like shit. It felt like I was running a modded version of Fallout 4 when my computer couldn't handle it. That's how it felt playing this game. Sometimes it actually runs pretty good, but when you're in the big cities, when you're in firefights, I found it so hard to actually aim and shoot the enemies and just kind of get a general sense of what's going on because the frame rate tanked so much. It was borderline unacceptable, honestly. So I think the whole "this is only a beta" argument just doesn't hold any merit here. The game ships in 2 weeks, so unless we're playing a older version of the game, which I very much doubt we are, then things are going to look pretty dire at launch. This coupled with the odd animation bugs that happen every now and again, sometimes the online aspect of Fallout 76 is just completely immersion breaking, and immersion being one of the main reasons why I play these games. I ended up running into a guy who had his TV on in the background, and when I met him, he says, "I fucked your mum," and I'm not even joking about that. It was ridiculous. And part of the reason I think, and I know you can turn off in-game voice, I wish there was a push-to-talk button. I can't believe there's not a push-to-talk button. And if there is, I haven't found it. But having the voice on by default is just completely immersion breaking, and I do want people to use voices. I want this to be a role-playing experience because I feel that was where Fallout 76 could really shine, but it's just not there yet, and that's the thing. That's my biggest gripe. I think the game just isn't there yet. It needs probably another year of development at this point, because what we have right now is very early accessy, and I hate to use that term, but it does feel like an early access game, and I want nothing more than this game to succeed, because I think the premise is absolutely brilliant, because when you're in a squad with your friends and the game does work, there's no janky animations, there's no lag, the game feels so good. It feels like you're exploring the wasteland with your friends, and those times, whether they're few and far between, they feel fantastic. It's just the problems that Fallout 76 is currently undergoing are such huge, glaring problems that it's going to hold the game back in the long run. This game simply isn't ready. It's just not ready. But as I said, when you are in this world and everything works and it's all coming together, you can have a really fantastic experience going on quests together, building your bases together, gathering resources, exploring new lands. It's magical when it works. Unfortunately, it doesn't work a lot of the time, and that's the big issue here. Another thing I'd like to say is about the whole non-human NPC thing. Now, there's two parts to this I would like to address, because on the one hand, for a game that's always online, filled with real people, the world state feels dead. It feels lifeless, like it has no heart, it has no soul. There's no real personality to it, because the personality trying to be portrayed is by robots in game, and robots are typically in the Fallout universe very quirky, and you just don't really get a sense of a identity with the robot faction. And I think Bethesda messed up when they didn't include human NPCs, and I can't really justify why there is no inclusion of human NPCs. Now, on the other hand, even though it does leave the game feeling lifeless and dead, I think Bethesda wants us, the player, to become the NPCs, to fabricate our own quest lines, to have our own personalities within the characters that we've created. Unfortunately, a large percent of the player base just simply aren't going to do that. They don't want to roleplay because they don't have to. No one's forcing them to. Whereas in other Fallout games, or even Elder Scrolls, we have this narrative that we can base our character on, and we can form inspirations for our story, and even though the story might be somewhat linear, we are free to freeform and choose our own path where we want to take our character, whether that be good or bad. But in Fallout 76, there is no overarching narrative, none that I can really sense anyway. I've played this game for probably about 15 hours right now. I think I'm level 25, and I have no idea the story of the game at all. I know that there's first responders and we go out and help people. Other than that, I'm really not sure what's going on. I kind of treated it as I would an MMO. If I'm playing an MMO like World of Warcraft, I don't really read the quest text. I just go from one point, do what it tells me to do, hand it in. That's how I've been treating Fallout 76. I get the quest, do what it tells me to do, and then be done with it and get my XP and move on. I haven't really been paying attention because there's just no narrative to it. There's no real emphasis on why we should be doing the things that we want to do. And I'm not really sure if that's the game's fault or my fault, because at the end of the day, this is still a Fallout game, but in the other Fallout games, I have taken an interest in the overarching story, and that has reflected on what type of character that I am. But in this game, I got out of the vault, I took my first steps out into the world, and I got plopped there, and I felt no sense of purpose within this world that they've created. And the world that they have created, West Virginia, is absolutely gorgeous. The level of detail and the varied zones, it's actually really nice. It's probably one of the best looking Fallout worlds we've ever seen. But I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I had a already established character that I had created with its own backstory and goals. So despite me ragging on about how bad this game is, why the hell can I not stop playing it? Why am I having so much fun? Despite all of the flaws and the performance issues, I still love exploring Fallout 76. I love getting lost. I love looting. I love leveling up and then finding new weapons and getting excited about modifications and crafting materials. I am having an absolute blast, but the issues are there and they are oh so prevalent, and it is disappointing, but it doesn't take away the core values of Fallout, for me at least. I love going along and exploring, and I'll keep reiterating on the exploring because that's where I feel this really shines, and especially in a multiplayer environment. I wish you couldn't see everybody on the map at once, because running into random players who don't really interact with you, they're just there, is kind of a cool experience, because sometimes I just forget and I'm in this headspace of, oh, I'm just playing Fallout offline. And then all of a sudden I see this player getting chased down by these rabid dogs. I'm like, okay, that was pretty cool. It's moments like that that are integral to this game's success. This game's key selling point is the online, obviously. The whole premise of Fallout 76 is it's always online. This is the first Fallout game you can play online with your friends or strangers. Although it's its strongest selling point, I also feel it's its weakest part of the actual game, and that comes down to the performance, how it's handled, the janky animations, the server lag. Many a times I haven't been able to loot a corpse because the loot has not loaded from the server side, and it's just, it brings you out of the experience, and it's a shame. But I do have high hopes. At the end of the day, it is a Fallout game, and I still love playing it despite its glaring issues. And just a little bit of a tidbit, I know Pete Hines came forward on Twitter and said, oh guys, don't worry, there's gonna be a lot of bugs in Fallout 76, ha 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 ha. And I sat there thinking, how is that acceptable? That's something you don't gloat about. That's an issue that needs to be resolved. That can't be just the classic Bethesda meme. Oh, the game is so buggy. Haha. Oh, you guys will fix it when we release mods and private servers, right? Please, for the love of God, please help us. I felt a weird sense of him gloating. And you know, Pete Hines is a cool dude. Don't get me wrong. I just really didn't like the fact that it was like, oh, there's gonna be bugs. Just you guys be ready for it. Yeah, we launch in 2 weeks and there's going to be game-breaking bugs, like we're going to delete the entire game for the very first PC launch. There's going to be glaring bugs, guys. Don't you worry. Yeah, the game deleted itself. But if you want the biggest bug in gaming history, the fact that a bug can delete the entire game. Bethesda. Classic Bethesda. But as I mentioned, I am having a lot of fun with it. It does have a shitload of issues, and I really do hope they're going to get ironed out. My biggest complaint is that this beta is too close to launch, and to have a game in this state, this close to launch, is unacceptable. It's just blatantly unacceptable. I feel as though Fallout 76 in the long run is going to rely on its player base for it to succeed, and for that it needs private servers. Now it is going to get private servers further down the line, but in these private servers I feel as though players need to play the game quote unquote correctly. And in the live servers that Bethesda are providing, I feel as though a lot of players are going to play the game incorrectly, or in a way that Bethesda doesn't really want. And I feel as though this is, and I know that sounds ridiculous to say, hey, you're playing this game incorrectly, but hear me out. I feel as though Fallout 76 lays this foundation for role-playing. It simply does. It has all of the elements there, the trading, the voice comms. It has all the elements there for role-playing. And then if the player base doesn't follow through with this, if it doesn't play the game that it was intended, if they play it like a typical Fallout game, I feel as though they're setting themselves up for disappointment. I feel as though this game is supposed to be played in a private server setting with established roleplay rules, with a self-written overarching narrative for the community to go through. I feel as though live servers just simply aren't doing that. And that's where people are going to get disappointed. They're going to get bored. They're going to not really care about the world state. Whereas in a private setting where there's role players and community-driven interaction and stories, they're going to get a better sense of the world that Bethesda has created, which is exactly what I plan to do in the future, by the way. I am going to set up my own private role-playing server, just, you know, throwing that out there. But at the moment, Fallout 76 is just far too rough around the edges for it being this close to launch. And I really want this game to do well, because I do have a lot of fun with it. When it works, it's absolutely mind-blowing and fantastic. Like I said, when you're playing with your friends and everything, all the cogs are moving and everything's working well, it's such a fun and unique experience. Because, hey, Fallout is great. Fallout with friends, it has the potential to be even better. But right now, it has that potential, but it is far, far, far away from seeing that potential. Even with the new gameplay changes like real-time VATs and the fact that the game doesn't pause when you're opening your Pip-Boy, which is super scary, by the way. Stop! The game does feel very easy for some reason. I'm not sure if my character is bugged, because I haven't died yet, and I take hardly any damage. I've been killing level 40 enemies very easily, and they have been doing hardly any damage. With that being said, Bethesda, if you're out there, change the shotguns, because I should not have to be 3 inches from a dude's face for a shotgun to do damage. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there, okay? The shotguns need to change, like, desperately. They are so bad, apart from if you are 3 inches in front of someone. That's not how shotguns work. But I'm still going to play it a shitload. The whole leveling experience with the cards, it's different enough for me to be invested into it. With the leveled loot system, which I've always liked, I have a lot of fun with it. I reached level 25, the previous beta, and I ended up finding all of this new advanced stuff. Like, I got a combat rifle and laser snipers, and my buddy got a plasma gun. It is fun, and I don't want to take away from that. The game is fun. It's just too broken. It's in too much of a state at the moment for me to really recommend this game right now, because it just needs it just needs more polish. That's what, it just needs more development time. I feel as though it was rushed out. This game, like I said, simply is not ready to be launched in 2 weeks' time. It's just not. The performance is lacking on PC. There's not enough settings for the PC version. I've heard the console version runs even worse. It's just not ready. And with the whole argument about the non-human NPCs and the lackluster world state where it feels dead, I have high hopes for that in a role-playing sense. I would like to be part of the solution rather than the problem. I want to be that character that greets people, has my own overarching story, has my own identity within this world. I want to be part of the solution. I want to help this game in a role-playing sense, because I feel that was where the game would be thriving if it wasn't for the weird technical issues. Bethesda. Classic Bethesda. Well, I like the game. I do. I bought it. I've already bought it. There's not much really else to say. Part of me is a little disappointed, but the other part of me is probably blinded by Fallout fanboyism. This is a perfect video game. Hey, I like this game. What can I say? I'll see you next time.